What's up, guys? FightIQPicks here. I wanted to give you guys a little preview of how I study fights and I make picks. I've been able to profit on every card this year besides one card. I have a strategy that I've been using this whole year. I've used it before, but I haven't ever just committed to it like I've done this year, and it's literally changed everything. It's allowed me to be profitable every card. What I do is I look for an anchor. I'll study the whole card, and I need something later on the card that I can use it as an anchor while I'm watching these fights because I have fighting experience, coaching experience, and I've been obsessively studying boxing film for years, I mean, more than 10 years, looking at what makes a great fighter and, figured out a lot of stuff that people just don't focus on as far as weight transfer, head placement, um, ability to roll with shots. Like when you'll hear people will say, "Oh, that guy doesn't have a shin," and it's a lot of it is just how you're able to roll with shots, how you place yourself when you're taking a shot. And I look for that in these fighters. Now, obviously, this is MMA and grappling, all that's a thing that I have to watch out for. So that's why live betting has been so good for me because I can recognize these striking advantages before the fight by studying these guys. Like, for example, Chris Curtis, this is a guy that's calm, composed. I know what I'm going to get from him every fight. He's comfortable in the pocket. He knows where to place his head. He knows where his head should be when he throws shots. He's actively parrying. See, that is actively parrying. When I see a fighter that doesn't know how to parry and is just using a high guard, that's a red flag right there. Not a lot of fighters nowadays are like that. People have really gotten advanced. I can't imagine the early 2000s how much easier it would have been to profit out of this stuff. But still, to this day, we'll see guys that just use their legs for defense. They don't know how to parry on the inside. They don't know how to take a shot because you don't always got to make people miss. There's a misconception that people think, oh, you gotta make people miss. All no, sometimes you can just take a shot, but you take it in the right part of your head, and now you're right in position to give it right back, and you're in range, not out of range. Um, how to use, a high guard properly, how to transfer your weight properly in shots when you're throwing punches, where your weight should be in those shots when you're throwing a jab. People will push their weight to their front foot instead of putting it in their back foot, leveraging, giving you more leverage on that jab and loading up your right hand. Stuff like this. So with Chris Curtis, we got a guy right here that's going to be comfortable in the pocket, knows how to take shots. The chances of him getting knocked out are very low, in my opinion. Max Griffin would have to, have a home like 1 in 100 type thing. He doesn't. Max Griffin doesn't really sit down on shots. Max Griffin has been a real solid UFC fighter. Has his fundamentals right. He's a guy that does things right. You'll see guys that have a lot of height that don't even do things right, like Paddy Pimblett, for example. Perfect example, but he's improved so much. Paddy Pimblett has improved so damn much. When he first came into this, I was like, this guy's gonna lose. And then I remember he fights Jared Gordon, and Gordon beats him, and they give him a robbery. I was like, oh, this guy's bound to lose. I'll just keep doubling up on him. But you can't do that because the guy got way better. Now he knows all this type of stuff that I'm talking about. He might not be conscious of it, but he's doing it better. He's placed like there's guys that will throw shots and their head is in the center line. Like that's what I'm talking about. When you throw a hook, throw a left hook, it's not just a punch. It's also where your head is when you finish that punch. It's also where your weight is when you finish that punch. And Paddy Pimblett, when he came into the scene in the UFC, I mean, his head was in the center line while he was throwing shots all the time. It was another example of this. What Chase Hooper? Remember when Chase Hooper came into the scene? Steve Garcia knocks him out. Anybody that understands what I'm saying could have seen this coming. Now, I've made a lot. I have crazy bet slips that I can show you guys that are unbelievable. On that bet, I didn't capitalize on that, but I was just busy and didn't have the time. But if I can catch something like this, a guy that they're hyping up against the wrong matchup, and he's just there to get knocked out, I mean, you could really capitalize in this sport when you're investing in it. So here we go with Max Griffin. As you can see here, in this fight, he has to worry about Michael Chiesa's takedowns. I wanted to study the fight with Max Griffin versus, let me see how much more time I have left. I wanted to study the fight with Max Griffin versus Jeremiah Wells, but it isn't available. ESPN Plus is not even working, so it's made it hard for us guys that are profiting off of these fights or attempting to. Um, but I've found a substitute here. But look, okay, so we're seeing him. Does he take clean shots? Yeah, he takes clean shots. He uses his legs as defense. This guy's gonna. What can we expect in this fight? And if you're live betting, what are you looking for? Okay, if you were looking to live bet this, what would you really be looking for? You would look for If Max Griffin can keep the fight on the outside, because as you can see, he's chasing him. That's not going to be the story in this fight. Chris Curtis is going to be in the front foot. I think that's pretty obvious, right? He's going to be trying to get into his boxing range. And what's Max Griffin going to be doing? In this fight, he's chasing him down, but against him, he's going to be on the outside. He's not going to want to fight him in the pocket. You think he's going to box with him? No. He doesn't. He's not as a good boxer. He's not as comfortable in the pocket. He uses his legs as defense. He still knows how to parry shots, but not as well as Chris Curtis. So you'd be looking to see if Chris Curtis starts getting in that boxing range and gets his rhythm. I mean, 9 times out of 10, Chris Curtis is winning, right? And then another thing, guys like Chris Curtis, they're not going to tire out as easy. Why? Because they have a nice, consistent rhythm. Then you got other guys like I was studying the Balta Walker, who's in a fight. That guy, he's jumping in and out, and he's going for the takedown. I haven't seen him go to round 2, round 3, but if he goes to round 2, round 3, you can bet he's going to be in for a world of trouble because he's constantly coming in and out. He has no pace, and these are guys that are inexperienced and haven't learned how to fight in the pocket. They're going through practice in MMA. They're bigger, and they're just coming in and out. They never been put into a boxing room with a good boxer and being forced to be comfortable on the inside. So, and then guys like Chris Curtis, they know how to do that, and it's an advantage in fighting because you don't have to always rely on your feet to get out or hope that you use the high guard and they don't hit you clean. No, if they get inside the puck and they're throwing shots, you know how to take those shots, and that's something that Chris Curtis knows how to do. Chris Curtis is going to be in his face. To make a long story short, I like Chris Curtis at the price tag. It's too juiced. It's too juiced because let's say the Chris Curtis isn't much of a finisher. He's finished guys. Who'd he finish? He finished what's this guy that they've been hyping up that fought Usman? Just lost to Usman. What's his name, man? Can't even think of his name. I have his name and I have his face inside my Buckley. He knocked out Buckley, but for the most part, he's not going too crazy on his shots. He's not just going for the no guard. He's systematically picking you off, basically sparring with you and just getting the better of you. He's very confident in his abilities to do that. Doesn't feel like he just needs a knockout. He'll come in there and he's fighting some tough competition in this Russian he fought, and he did very well in this fight. I think he didn't win, but it was like a tight decision. Anybody could have won. Now, what scares me about this fight is it could go to decision, and this guy could possibly beat him, but I don't see it happening. So Chris Curtis is the safe bet. Chris Curtis by decision would be the best one, but I'm not going to do that because I'm not here guessing. Chris Curtis can easily knock him out. So I'd rather get him in a parlay. Even though people say parlays are dangerous, I'll get him on a 2-legger and with 2 fighters that I'm very confident in. So yeah, take Chris Curtis here. He has every advantage in the striking, and I don't expect Griffin to be able to take him down at all. So he's going to have to. I expect him to look for the takedown, even though that's not really his game plan. I expect him to look for the takedown. I don't think he's going to be able to take him down. I really don't. If he does, I see Chris Curtis getting up, and the endurance, see Chris Curtis having the better gas tank as the fight goes on. So yeah, if anything, I could see Max Griffin maybe having a good first round, but after that, it's all should go into Chris Curtis's favor. Chris Curtis is going to be looked to pick up the rhythm. He was fighting a much tougher fighter in this Russian right here. So yeah, that's my analysis for this fight, and this is how I go through these picks, and I'm able to profit every weekend. I'm starting a website. I'm starting a Discord. You guys are going to be able to join me on the Discord on Saturdays when the fight goes off. We'll all be together on the Discord, and I'll let you guys know who the anchor is, which that'll be the fighter in the later card that we'll be using to reduce the juice of the live betting that we're doing. We'll be stacking it up with that fighter. Now, can something happen and can the anchor lose? Yes, but if you stick to your units, and we're doing this consistently every weekend, and we're sticking to our units, in the long run, we're gonna win. We're gonna win because the guys that I pick, that let's say that I've studied the whole card, I know this guy has the advantage. In the long run, that's gonna win. It's gonna win. There's things can happen, but if you stick to your units, I've been able to profit every weekend. And now stuff can happen. This is the game of MMA, but in the long run, this has been a proven and effective method that I've been profiting in every card. So I don't have the anchor to give you guys right now, but this is my analysis for this fight here. I like Chris Curtis. He's a good parlay piece, and that's it. Make sure you subscribe and like the video so you guys can help me grow, and I can help you guys get to the money. You guys can help me get to the money. All right, thank you.